Hey folks, it's Jeremy Kirkland. You're listening to Blammo. How we doing? All right, we got another new week, a new episode right in front of us. I'm so excited. This was a long time coming. I got Tal Silberstein from Colbo. And I'm sure many of you are like, oh yeah, I know that store. I've been in there all the time. Or, oh, that's the store that has the special bench outside that every single one of all the videos I watch online are filmed in front of. And it's like, yeah, it's all of the above. But Colbo, it's one of the best retail stores and experiences in New York. I mean, there's a very small list, and that list shrinks every year with great retail. But Colbo, man, they're up there. They got great records, great coffee, very tightly curated selection of clothing with brands like Yoko Sakamoto, and now their own brand, which is cool. You'll hear us talk about it. But Tal and I discussed the recent Sperry collaborations, stores being community centers, which is a very special thing for me. The infamous Colbo bench, music, and more. It's all in there. I'm so glad you're here. Let's dig in. How you doing?
I'm all right, man.
You just did your first runway show.
I did.
How was that?
That was wild. It was pretty incredible, honestly.
Yeah?
It was very stressful, as it always is. I used to work for a designer back in the day and kind of be on the back of the house for that, and it's always kind of crazy and stressful and like last minute and kind of, but I think it was really special. The whole day felt really like the energy was kind of like really nice across everyone. Like we're so grateful for everyone that was like from our team obviously was amazing, and everyone we kind of brought on for this project, whether it's like from styling to production to like obviously doing it at Public Records, which was a very kind of full circle moment for me. And just even like the idea, which is the biggest concept there, was kind of like all the models walking were just friends of ours in our community, which was huge success, I for lack of a better word, because it was just so seamless and beautiful, and like made it feel so special and like personal, and fit so perfectly with like the first kind of runway. And it's not even about the clothes were good, the clothes were not good. Like the show was just like energetically and like holistically, it felt really special and amazing. And I think we're really excited about how everything turned out and went through. And to that, also back to Sperry again here, it's like it was really always a part of this vision was to kind of like, how do I utilize this like interesting relationship we've built, Sperry and us, and like it was really fun to like implement a lot of Sperry's in the show in a way that's felt like special. Whether it's like we use it across like 4 different ways, like one being the like the ones we released last summer, which is like the boat shoes from the leather, and then like going into like the boat shoes that we're releasing in the summer, and then going into like further explorations that we're doing in terms of like the new silhouettes. And like I was really having a really good time cutting shoes and like painting shoes for the show, and like it felt really special to do that, especially coming from like a background of fine arts in some capacity also. So it was really fun for me to kind of work with my hands and paint and get like dirty and messy. But it was really fun to include that, and it was really just great to see all our communities showing up also just to see the show and be there. And like it felt really special with the after party element that was like also very part of our kind of like event-based experiential kind of retail, and how do we bring that to a kind of a runway presentation format.
Yeah. Well, let's jump back a bit, because I think for a lot of listeners, they're familiar with Colbo, but this Colbo is not your first rodeo by any means, right? Like what was happening pre all this? Because you had mentioned even working with someone else earlier.
Yeah. All this. So I had a record store. That's kind of my first endeavor, was a record store, which was, kind of the start of my entrepreneurial road, I guess, in a way. But it was kind of the initial Colbo in a way, because it was like a record store, but it had also like books and magazines and some vintage clothes, and I started to make some t-shirts, and then I started to get deeper into like design and kind of really exploring this like multi-disciplinary aspect of a store. And like it was also, and I think that's a very classic for a record store, right? It's like this community, right? It's a community-based kind of thing, because it's like this was for more DJ-focused record store in a way, or like selector-focused record store. And then that creates a really nice community around it, because all the DJs from the city come and hang out and look for what's the next record and what's new in stock and what does Tal and his team, what do they bring that's like interesting? What do I don't know, and what do I kind of explore? And I think it applies also to Colbo now with the clothing brands and the records, of course. But
Yeah.
I think that was kind of like the initiation. My dad was a DJ and record collector for many years, which is probably where I got this stuff from.
What kind of records were being played in your house when you were younger?
Dude, it was crazy. He had like a DJ room. We called it a DJ room.
Okay.
He had crazy like 4 turntables, 2 giant rotary mixers, a full room full of like house and techno 90s records.
Oh, okay.
He was like, he was working all day every day, but then on weekend he was just blasting fucking house music in our house in his DJ room. It's a very non-classic record collector, right? Because you expect your dad was, it's like Bob Dylan and the Beatles and Rolling Stones, but literally like, Larry Heard, Danny Tenaglia, like super like,
well, it's serious
old school house, like the real deal, which was great. And I was a very young kid when he started. I was like probably 9 or 10. I used to come to New York and come back with like boxes filled with hundreds and hundreds of records, hundreds and hundreds of records. And he flew in with turntables, and he brought his mixers with him in the suitcase. It was like, he got into it pretty relatively late in his life, probably around even like closer to like 40. I guess, when he got into this, like late 30s, which is basically my age, which is wild to think about. Yeah. He had like 2 kids and shit, 4 kids maybe at that point. Look at me, a runway show. But yeah, it was pretty wild scene, and really cool and really inspiring. And I think I definitely look up to my dad, and I think that's kind of how I got into that even to begin with. And I also had his huge record collection, because at some point it was like, okay, whatever, it's like
you let it go. I mean, is it all yours now?
Let it go. It's mostly mine. Yeah, it's mostly mine for sure. It's mostly mine, and my brother, which is also probably more DJ than me at this point. I had like my career when I had the record shop was like DJing a lot, kind of all over. I never thought that would be my career, but I always saw it as part of this lifestyle, right? Like even in Colbo, like we have the whole turntables, rotary mixer, records for sale. It's like always a part of my thing, and even when I moved to New York after the record shop, which I was working with Head Mainers, a designer I was working for at the time, while having the record shop. So like my record shop was like an evening record shop. It was part of this like bigger complex that had like a bar and a club and like this whole thing. And I was in that big kind of like, what's the word for it? It was like a big courtyard kind of vintage mall type thing. Mm-hmm. So the store was open from 4 p.m. to like midnight, which also added to this like hangout vibe. People come and like smoke weed and drink and just like, listen to records and play records, and just like very, very hangout forward agenda for the evening with the bar and everything around it. And then during the day I was working for this designer, Head Miner, kind of like getting my path into both of these like music and entrepreneurship and retail brick and mortar thing, while also really kind of like getting my hands on with like design and fashion and fabrication and all the things that come into that, because I didn't study properly fashion. I think I learned it from working for Head. Before that, I worked for another designer, and kind of just like learning from doing it, which is kind of how I feel I do most things.
Yeah, I mean, bit of an autodidact for sure. Yeah,
definitely a bit of an autodidact. Yep.
Yeah. So what did you go to school for?
So it's also funny because I went to school initially for fine arts, but I was like, nah, I don't. I was like, no, I'm like, and my painting style was very like abstract and like, intuitive. Yeah. That's how I do things, very intuitively and abstract a little bit in my mind, at least. So I was like, I don't sit here and draw fucking flower for 4 hours. This is not what I want to do. And it's crazy and it's expensive and it's like, sure. And it's taking all my time, and I'd rather just like do things. And then I started to paint, and then I started to kind of buy and sell records. And then kind of that's where I was like, okay, I'm going to buy all these records and do this little store. And it started as a pop-up, and it just got extended until like I decided to kind of come back here, I guess.
Well, I feel like though, apart from, because we'll talk about the brand and the products and the store itself, but it sounds to me that so much of your experience as not just like an entrepreneur and a shopkeeper, because entrepreneur is almost like pejorative, like in today's landscape.
Yeah, totally.
But
like, totally.
But you kind of have always been this place where people hang out, I mean, people just, ever since I've, seen your shop, it's just the bench outside is always happening.
We met on the bench outside.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure our first meeting was like, hey, on the bench outside. I think physically remember that, I think.
Yeah. I would probably say there's probably hundreds, thousands of people who have all met at the Colbo bench.
Hundreds of thousands? I'd be
No, I
honored
think
if that's
so.
enough.
No, I
Actually,
mean, when
hundreds
you
of
look at,
thousands?
well, look at what's
That's
the average
sick.
foot traffic
Love
in New
that.
York a day, right?
Okay,
And
yeah,
so,
true. We are
I
here.
mean, yeah, but it's like when you look at, what you've kind of done and accomplished, I mean, was the goal, because I know there's some stores, I was doing retail for ages, and I know there were some places who were very averse to, I'll use the word loiterers, who would just kind of hang out. But for
Yeah.
you, it seems like that's never been an issue ever.
No,
So I'm
that's
curious
the
about that.
opposite. It's actually the opposite. I think I'm really excited about how like this was always part of the vision. Like we made the space to accommodate people to come hang out and loiter, quote unquote.
Sure,
it's like
right? Yeah.
that was always part of the idea. Was always kind of building like a more community experiential based retail, right? That's
Yeah.
like we built it for it. There's a coffee shop, right?
Yep.
So that already invites you to be there for $4, right?
Yeah.
Or whatever. And then like we built the little benches inside and put the benches outside, very much towards people to come hang out and meet other people. And I think that's kind of what's always been interesting and why I like also bringing all these aspects, whether it's like of the music or the fashion or the arts or the galleries kind of stuff that we do. If it's like we hosting different artists or hosting different like music events, and all these things that we do are really catered to kind of connect between these people and different kind of facets and communities to kind of like have them connect and have them sit outside and meet different people from different worlds or similar worlds. And then we're like, the watch guys are now there, and we're like a watch place now, which is amazing. It's just like it's been really from like very kind of just a small little retail store on Orchard Street. It's pretty. I'm really excited about the kind of community we were able to build around it, like through these like whether it's like people just hanging out or the people that shop and the brand or other brands or the even like I see the other brands that we sell in the store as part of this community, right? So it's like the brands we work with, we always have like a relatively close relationship with. It's always kind of been a part of it, and I think it's like, and even every event we do, it's always catered toward this like interactive, experiential, community-based establishment. I don't even want to call it store. It's like it's for me, it's much bigger than that. And then it also obviously goes into the brand. And but yeah, it was never an issue, and quite the opposite. It was exactly the goal. And I'm like, I can't be more grateful to like all our friends and people and team for actually making it happen, work.
Yeah. I mean, because more and more stores I've seen, and look, like the concept of a bench in front of a store is not new, right? But I think you being so focused on the community aspect is something that I think is really, really beautiful, because, it makes me wonder now more. It's like, why are many stores and stuff against it? And I feel like, because you and I, we've been around for a bit. There's other, stores that we can name or things like that have existed who have very much been much more, transactional. Or if they didn't have the right, I'll air quote, like type of person outside the store, they would be worried about, well, someone's not going to come in my store if you have this person outside, if you got, people doing this. And it does make me wonder, like, why do you think that is? Because now it's great. We have, places like Colbo and places where that's all welcoming, but there are still stores who are like, nah, get out of here.
Yeah, this is, again, it's kind of like one of the kind of gaps I felt that was existing in the kind of retail environment is like stores that are just like, I used to go to stores and buy, and they have amazing clothes and they're like nice enough and like everything's cool, but it's like, it feels a lot of times very transactional and kind of like cold or, it's like, I felt like there's, and I also come from this like very kind of like community-based, obviously hospitality. I came here to work with public records, so that's also part of my kind of. It's always been part of my like ethos and in my DNA to do these things. So, and for me, I just saw something that wasn't really there, and I think it did exist. And I'm not saying I invented the wheel; it was there, but there was a way to do it. I think beyond and in that specific niche and even area that I thought was really good. It's it's hard for me to think about why they like some other stores, whether it's New York or in the world, or there's no like specific reference in my mind of a store, but that like don't like that, or I can understand why they don't want a specific person outside their store. But I think that's like feels to me like that kind of almost relates to a completely different demographic, right? Like
maybe, but I think for me, it feels like the thing I'm kind of getting at is there's definitely a bit of confidence in a good way if you're open to just having your store being a place where people meet up,
Yeah.
especially in the age when everyone's like, oh, retail's dead, retail's dying, where it's like, I don't know, it doesn't look like it for you guys.
Yeah.
So, like being okay with everything that's existing in the store and outside the store goes to show how strong what you actually have to sell is. Because obviously not everyone that's sitting outside your store is buying stuff.
Yeah.
But I think that for me is something that I think is also really important for other, there's tons of people who have small businesses and stores and things like that listen to the show. And I think knowing that you can be part, like community center, hangout, coffee shop, a place where like culture can kind of flourish, I think is really, really, really important, even apart from the great clothes and stuff that you guys have.
No, I agree. And I think, it's, again, I'll say it again. It's like, it was always part of the vision is to kind of have this like space, right? That kind of accepts everything and touches a lot of things. And everywhere I say or write or think about it, it's very multi-disciplinary way of thinking, which applies then to like different people, right? And different like energies and different, parts of the community that are not necessarily going to buy the clothes, and they can also like be there and be a part, and maybe they're like do even a book launch there, but it doesn't mean they'll ever buy anything, but they're part of like the bigger kind of culture. It's about building something that's like more community and cultural and established, and like building something a lot larger than like a physical store that I think also then promotes the store in a way, right?
Absolutely.
And I think we keep digging into it even more because like we're opening, this is a first kind of a thing, but we took the space next door to the store right now.
Whoa.
And we're even going deeper. We're doing like a more kind of like event space / kind of like hi-fi, which again, kind of connecting more into like this like listening, hospitality part of the space, like kind of really diving into like having more dedicated space for pop-ups and hosting different people from different, like in all different ways of like, of all different mediums, meaning like, we can do a kind of a gallery show or different weird installations or a different brand that we're hosting that's a clothing brand, or like a space for collaborations and workshops, and kind of like really even indulge deeper into this, like further kind of building a culture and a community around it that is much beyond a standard kind of retail approach. For us, which has been super exciting, and it's interesting how this says like a vision that I've had since I was very young, like young kid, like teenage, like someone, I want to be a doctor. I'm like, I want to have a store that has a lot of things. Like I was like to my mom, I remember telling her when I was like a teen, I was like, I want to go to Japan and buy clothes and sell them in a store. I didn't think it would be New York, but I always wanted a store, and I was like always into fashion, and I was always like into music. And then my dad with it's just like, so I think that's kind of, part of my culture and upbringing, right? In a way.
Yeah,
like that's
hospitality.
It's what we're trying to do with Colbo, is like make it very, it started with hospitality, right? It's coffee. So it's a lot more kind of like simple and clean, and part of the space more complementary rather than like, we've never like called it a coffee shop, right? It's like, we have Colbo. It's a multidisciplinary space and store that also has coffee, one of the best coffees, I think, because it's Maru Coffee, that are actually opening in New York today, I think.
Oh shit.
Yeah, literally today. And yeah, it's really, I don't get to speak about it much like this. And it's really very grateful for kind of even the possibility or the option to do this stuff. It's really like.
Yeah. Well, I was in New York, like last week or so, and I was with a friend of mine, and he works in like the venture capital sort of world, and I'll connect the dots in a second, but he was like trying to find, he's like, what are the cool stores in New York, and he had a little list on his phone, and he pulls out his phone, and this is like CHCM and then Colbo is on the list, and he's like, can you take me to Colbo? I was like, well, fuck yeah, of course, it's great store. And he goes in there and he's looking at everything. And this is a guy whom I'll use him as an example. And he listens to this. He's gonna think it's funny. But he's looking at it, and for him, everything is about like how it transacts to make a profit, right? I think there's a big misunderstanding in the world of business, specifically like men's fashion, luxury, and now where you have these stores, locations, whatever you want to say, that are, like you were saying, multidisciplinary, right? Where you have people hanging out. It's partial like community center. It's all of these things where like culture is breeding. And we go into the store and he's looking at the clothes and he's like, okay, yeah, this is cool. And he's like, he's like, what do you think? And he's like doing numbers in his head on like what
100%.
retail costs.
I've had that.
Yeah, what's the square footage of everything, and then how can you turn to be profitable per square foot? I mean, there's a formula that people can look up on Google where it's like how much profit do you need to have for square foot to actually grow? And for him, again, he always thinking about is the number, the transactional number of what the return would be cash wise. And then here, before I even started telling you the story, you tell me how you were gonna grow and get the place next door. And the only thing I didn't hear you mention, which I think is great, is you didn't say like, oh, now we can sell more clothes or carry more brands or carry more clothes. You literally said that like, oh, listening space, event space, which as we know, if you're like in any finance world, doesn't necessarily turn over profit. Your cost per square foot for all the like finance VC folks, it's plummeting downwards when you essentially have an event space. But for you, you're investing in this to make something that is essentially not profitable on paper to this guy. But I think there's a reason why we're having this conversation. There's a reason why I think for me, yes, the clothes are great. And yes, you can go see the clothes and we can talk about the clothes and you're having a brand. But what I think Colbo's like legacy and what it is that you're doing is you're actually making something that's just like, be here. And then you become this kind of like beacon of like good people. Like the vibes at Colbo are always through the roof. Like every time I'm there, there's I've either gotten stopped from like a person that I know or a person of a friend, or Mike Nouveau's there making some watch video, or, Eric Wareheim's popping in, getting clothes, like just like very cool tastemakers are shopping there. And for many people that I know that go there, it's like this kind of secret of theirs. So I think, for me, to jump back a bit, why was it that you thought when you're going to grow the store and you're going to invest more money in it, that you're essentially more okay without this kind of like cost per square foot growing? I
think it's a great, like, it's interesting also that I didn't mention that at all because
I think it's perfect.
No, for sure. I'm saying it's pretty amazing, and I think it's just I think the vision of Colbo is this like cultural multidisciplinary space that hosts all these people and has all these like gatherings and different meetings of different people. Like Eric Wareheim, right? He's a chef and an actor and a writer. It's like, and then he meets like, I don't know, Mike Nouveau, which was a watchman. And he's there with Phil and Scar, which Scar is also a watchman, but a car guy, but a pizza man actually. And it's just like, and then it's like, it's really the concept there. And I think I think we're very, very excited and happy and have grown the different brands we have in the store. And we are doing good per square foot. And also the space next door is going to be actually like, that's just for the VC to know. There is going to be a door connecting the two spaces, kind of like a hidden sliding door type situation.
Wait, hold on a second. I am in the middle of auctioning a watch of mine off on Bezel. Just a few more minutes left. Look, yes, your favorite site to buy and sell luxury timepieces of all the heavy hitters from Rolex and Lange and Cartier. I could go on and on and on. They also let you auction your own watch on their incredibly safe and secure marketplace. After the auction ends, I'm just going to ship my watch to them with the prepaid label they gave me, and boom, your boy's going to get some money in his account to, in my case, buy another watch. But I'm not here to discuss that part. I am trying to tell you why I use Bezel to buy and sell and now auction all my favorite watches. Check it out. Finish the pod first, but hey, look, I get it if you want to hit that pause button. So visit getbezel.com and get nuts with your next favorite timepiece. That's getbezel.com. Shop the nearly 25,000 luxury watches on there and rest assured your purchases are authenticated by Bezel's team of experts. And psst, if there's something on there you're not seeing, you want that ultra rare Lange or that CP Cartier, just hit up their concierge and they will source it for you. They're real people and they'll talk to you and they'll find that dream watch for you. So visit getbezel.com. That's getbezel.com. All right, back to the show.
That's going to be kind of, so the front of the space, so it's basically, it's like Colbo, right? It's like a long kind of space kind of cut in half, not cut in half, but like kind of two long spaces. It's the same, it's mirrored space to Colbo right next door. And the front of it is going to be this kind of, again, more like pop-up, like rotating retail space. But that said, it is also going to function as a retail space. Like the front of it is going to be more retail focused. We're going to have different stuff there. We're going to have room for some more. It's not focused about that. It's not about that. The expansion is not towards that. The expansion is like a lot more of like completing this holistic vision of Colbo, right? And having this like kind of little hi-fi type of bar thing, and that we can use for events, and we can kind of like host different people from even more worlds of kind of culture that we want to bring in. And also kind of have a more dedicated space for hosting all these kind of collaborators that we work with in these different events. And it's in a more like, what's the word for it? More permanent kind of space for different things, while having the back of the store more kind of like permanent collection type of stuff.
Right.
So there is kind of also a retail component thought process behind this, but I think, the exciting part is like growing into this like more hi-fi event space, hospitality type of stuff, which we're really excited to kind of go deeper into, as you said, because, our thing is like getting together and having the people, this growing this community. So it's like, if we do more of that, we can nourish that further, and grow that deeper and promote this kind of like meeting, hangout, loitering, kind of like event, pop-up experience type of ethos a lot further.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, because when I brought him in, and we're looking at everything, and he's trying to calculate all this stuff.
I love that.
And I told him, I was like, dude, I was like, everything for you is like this kind of like algorithm, because he's like, oh, I wonder what the CAC is, which for folks is customer acquisition cost. And I was trying to tell him, I was like, dude, I think you missed the point that like the algorithm doesn't figure out like cultural growth, and that's the thing when people talk about AI and all this bullshit. It can't ever factor in like the vibe, the environment, the smell of a store. Why do people keep coming back? What your color palette, your furniture, all of the things that fit within that. Versus, for him, he looks at every store like an Apple store.
Yeah,
which
of course.
Is just like, well, you got to equal this and this to be. And I'm like, dude, man. The VC should fucking fire you if this is all you think about. Like it's so like the wrong way. I mean, and I told him that, which about I'm not some guy to talk shit, passive aggressive. I was like, I think this is the most important thing that what many people who try to like bet against good retail, or why all this that people making up some story where it's like retail is great again and all, and it's just like no, like it never stopped. I think it's just we started actually paying more attention to it, So with everything that's been happening, I mean, you started out at the store, you had, some vintage stuff. It was more third party, but like doing Colbo branded private label stuff. I mean, that's relatively new, no?
No, it's actually not. It was also always part of the vision, which I'm also very, again, grateful and excited about. But you listen, it's like, so again, part of kind of this building this whole thing, I always wanted to have our own little label. Even in my store, like the record store, I had my little t-shirts that I made, or then I made a little pants. And then like, I always wanted to have my in-house thing. I did, it grew beyond anything I thought, but we started with all the third-party brands that we had, and most of them we still do, and we're very, very close with, and we've done different collaborations and partnerships with, and we like exclusives, and we have a brand from Japan in the store this weekend, and we had a brand from Japan in the store last weekend, and it's like we work very close with them. And our brand at the beginning, it wasn't a name, obviously, right? It wasn't a brand. It was just like our stuff. So it was like 4 to 5 styles, 4 to 5 pieces of each style of like some random dead stock that I found and like made with like a small atelier. And I was like, or like factory, just seeing what happens. And, it was always part of like scaling this company, right? Like the brand is how we're trying to like scale this, like even this culture, right? It's like a way for us to put this entire culture into a product that is not, I see it more of a product. It's a feeling, right? It's something that it's like, I don't like to use this word, but I have to use this word. It's a cult. It's thinking that way, Yeah. And it's like, it's really kind of inspired by that in some capacity from my past, like in like spiritual experiences. But yeah, I think it's been like amazing, like the growth of the brand from like this initial kind of like small, like, okay, let's just do an in-house brand that's very minor and like part of the store, but just to kind of like, get it started. And I think we're like the way it's been kind of like gradually growing. So like it started with like the few styles, and we made a few more styles, and we made a few more of each style. Then we made like one that was like a collection. For the first time, we called it a collection after like probably a couple of years, or maybe a little bit less. And then another collection, and then a bigger collection. And then I started like customizing fabrics, and then making more
Oh boy.
styles, and then doing wholesale, and then doing more wholesale, and then doing
So you are wholesaling?
Yeah, we started spring summer 25. Yeah, we're
Oh, wow.
wholesaling. Yeah. So it was very like and then wholesale, and now the runway, and then just, what's next, But yeah, it's been really exciting, like the growth of the in-house brand. And of course it goes into like all the amazing kind of partnerships and collaborations we were able to kind of, the amazing brands and people we've been able to work through. That I think is super, again, and that kind of links back to the culture, right? And like this kind of multidisciplinary thing. So it's like, okay, shoes, doing with Sperry. Like if I want to do like music stuff, like it kind of gives opportunity to work with people in a way that is really special, and like feels really close to the heart, and really can obviously take the brand to different places. And it's been really exciting for sure.
How, like, the concept of what you were talking about with basically being in multiple verticals at once.
Mm-hmm.
And now when you have new brands that are starting, right, they're like, hey, we should do the same. We should have a coffee shop, music shop, all this other stuff at once. But you obviously didn't do everything immediately at once. Mm-hmm. So like, what sort of advice or feedback do you have to other people that are starting something new? Because was there a certain thing that you felt that you had to focus on first before you moved on to something else?
It was important for me to start in some extent in a multidisciplinary aspect, right? Of like,
sure.
The music, the coffee, the clothes, for sure. I think the main focus and what we really kind of were trying to do in the beginning, since we were also kind of obviously unknown, we just can't, a lot of people think the opposite. A lot of people think, oh, you first started the brand and then opened the store, right? Because that's a more kind of a standard way to go about it, right?
Yeah, correct.
For most people. But
you
for
get your
me,
Shopify and your
yeah,
whatever.
exactly. But for me, I could have never. That's how I kind of pitched this project before. I was like, I don't want another Instagram Shopify brand. Like, it's not. I need this experience. We need this culture. And that's kind of goes again back to like, that's why we want it to be very physical, very, very physical. And I think the timing of it, exactly like post a big COVID kind of crunch, and then kind of everyone feeling like they want to kind of gather. Anyway, I kind of sidetracked from the question. I think the big focus was kind of, how do we create a community, right? But it's like, it's a different way of doing it, because it was like through kind of like all these brands that we were curating, and like making these relationships with them, and having them part of the kind of like community, and like pushing their kind of people towards us. Cause a lot of these brands had not really any physical presence in New York. And I think, kind of tapping into their communities, and then slowly tapping into like the more music focused communities, like how do we connect and bring more people into this? And then from there, what do we feel like? I also, it's hard for me to answer these questions sometimes, because I think everything I do, I work very, like I walk opposite from VC guy. I am the opposite of the VC guy. I work
Which is great.
I work very intuitively. I don't I have my amazing business partners to kind of like do that part of things, right? Because I work very intuitively. I like, not even like, I don't want to say like creative freedom or whatever, but like I really go for things, and I do them like without over analyzing necessarily financial stuff, or
Yeah, you're a creative led business for the VC folks. Like you're not
for sure.
If things feel good emotionally, you're going that way, which I think is
maybe
really
if they
important.
Feel scary, they're going that way too.
Okay.
If they feel dangerous, they're going that way for me sometimes.
Was there something that happened, like, can you give me an example of something that felt weird or dangerous that you said, no, we're doing it?
Dangerous is even the runway show, right? Dangerous.
Yeah,
like,
sure, fair.
It's crazy production. It's like way over the top. But I'm so happy we did it. And I went back and forth on it for a long time. And it took me I decided I wanted to do it like 6 months ago or so. Then I spoke with Public Records. I kind of confirmed it.
Yeah.
And then a couple of months ago, I was like, no, I'm not. No.
Wait, 2 months in, you were like, no way?
2 months before, I was like, not no way. I was like, oh, is this crazy? Like, is this actually crazy? Am I crazy? Like, there's so much going on. We have this Sperry coming out. We have like, we have the wholesale and we have the production and we have all these things. And it's like, is this crazy? And then like a week later, it took me just a week of, maybe not. And then I was like,
Okay.
okay, I'm going for this. Fucking doing it. I don't care. Let's fucking go. And it felt dangerous and it felt scary, but I think it's like, and it's a lot of time and a lot of money and a lot of the team, everyone worked so hard on this. And it's like, and we have so much going on. And we have, as we have all this culture and all these events and all the third-party brands and all the production to deliver and all these like different partners that we work with on different things and the coffee and the new space. And it's just like, I was like, whoa, the new space is another dangerous one, isn't it?
I would argue yes.
Yeah. I mean, you and VC man would argue 100% yes. He's like, wait.
Yeah, but I think that's so important, and why I think
for sure.
Again, I don't think anyone should ever bet against good retail because, especially where it's a place where like culture is growing and flourishing and becomes, the cornerstone of that. Because, again, we haven't even talked about like the specific styles and clothes and stuff that you've made, which are great. I mean, I have a couple pairs of the pants that you've done.
Thank you.
But like, I think that is so important to call out. But, to move on to the clothes, walk me through, you early on, you said, yeah, we're just doing a few pieces. It wasn't even a collection. And now you have a collection. Now you have the runway stuff. How many pieces, if off the top of your head, are in
I know
the
exactly.
collection?
What do you mean? I know every last of the few collections, I know the numbers because it's more than I should have done according to kind of everyone around. Again, danger is my friend.
Sure, yeah.
But and that's kind of like I think that's kind of the way to do it. With like just pushing things to the edge a little bit. So yeah, I think the spring summer 26, which is our definitely biggest one yet. I think we for our wholesale we showed around like 80 or 90 styles in Paris in June, and for the runway show we had a total of like 120. We didn't even use all of them in the show, but it was 100. Sure. There are 120 styles in this collection, essentially, right? Yeah. Whether or not maybe half of them will end up being produced in the end, because if we showed around 80, we'll produce around 60, and then I made another like 30 for the show or 20. So, but yeah, there's 120 styles in this collection. The collection before was around like also 70 or 80. The collection before was also around like 90. So that's kind of the numbers we're in now. It's like 70 to 100 SKUs per collection.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the number. So it's gone from like 3 to a lot.
When you said you were wholesaling, when you're wholesale to another store, obviously you kind of lose some of the control of your brand in that other physical space that it's now in. Are there certain sort of guidelines or even planograms, to get technical, that you ask stores who are starting to carry you, where it's like, hey, don't put us against, I'm making this up, a red wall, or what, is there, I'm just curious how that works, because the environment you've made is so good.
No, it's an interesting question. And I think about it, and like, we're very grateful for like, I think we also attract a specific store, right? It's like the stores that we work with, which are majority of them are in Japan. And, I think what attracts them to the brand beyond the clothes, of course, is this concept, is this culture, is this idea, is this events. Like I did a pop-up in stores, and I did a collaboration with Porter Yoshida, and we released it back then. I did a huge pop-up in their store, and then I did the same thing at this big store, S Nation, that buys from us, one of our biggest buyers in Japan. And we're doing another. All they want to hear about and talk about and showcase is the bigger story. That's what they want. That's why they buy into the brand. They don't buy even. I mean, of course, they like the clothes. It works very well for them, thankfully, knock on wood. But they're buying into the brand. They're buying into the culture. They're buying into the story. They want me to. I send them records to put next to the clothes. Literally, I've done that. I send them fabrics to hang on the wall.
So it's good merchandising too, which
sure.
Japanese retail gets it. I wouldn't say that's normal with everywhere else. Yeah.
I know. I think it's like that. And that's, I think, why that's our biggest kind of market, right? For wholesale, because they really care so much. And it's so amazing to work with. They're such special people. And I think the biggest point here is like the people that buy Colbo wholesale, whether it's even like Glasswing, which is another amazing store in Seattle that we work with. And I'm going there in a couple of weeks to do something. But it's people that like the story, right? They like the clothes. Obviously, they buy the clothes to sell to their customers, but they are very intrigued by the bigger thing. That's the brand. That's like the brand kind of culture and story and backdrop, I guess, for lack of a better word. It's like it's so I didn't feel a need yet. Fortunately, we are very fortunate to kind of give the freedom to the stores we worked with, and it's so far it's been like looking and perceived very well. So I'm, very grateful for that. But I also I'm not. Yeah, it would be hard for me to give guidelines because there's not much that I would be like completely upset. But again, that's because of the nature of the stores being like
Well,
aligned
and I
in a
think
way.
a lot of the products that you have in a good way speak for themselves. I think it's difficult to kind of maybe misinterpret or misalign
Yeah.
with a Colbo product, on, I don't know, another brand, or maybe styled in a way, because a lot of the things that for me that has attracted me so much to the brand is like it fits, and you can wear it a little bit bigger and oversized. You can wear it, you can tuck it in, you can roll up the hems of your trousers, you can keep them long. Like it's not, I think it's a huge advantage of the brand versus some brands, if they're, I don't know, perverted or in some way where it's like, oh, this you're not showing it right, then like the clothes lose the life.
Yeah, I think I can only thank you for that, because it's for me, it's just like it's kind of our kind of expression of how we kind of see these kind of clothes operate in the world, right? And how we want the people to kind of like feel in them and be in them and what they want to like. Yeah, it's like the versatility of like this kind of wear up, wear down, wear big, wear like not so big. It's like it's
Yeah,
very much that's the vibe. And I think to that point of like, it's not, yeah, it's very also natural. It's very kind of like it's not usually anything too crazy. So it's I don't know if it's like hard to like extinct it from other brands. Like it could be very easily kind of like included in other brands, of course, similar kind of ethos, but it's like it's kind of, yeah, I think it's to what you said, it's like it's not like you can't really fuck it up, like, you know what I mean?
yeah, exactly. You can't
uh
fuck it up at all.
yeah, you can't really fuck it
I mean,
up so hard.
yeah,
Like
maybe I
a
don't want
red
to
wall
issue a
sounds
challenge.
cool. A red wall sounds sick to me. The red wall version is cool. So I'm trying to think of what could be what, like, I think styling maybe, but again, because the people we work with are really like in sync and
Yeah,
on the same kind of page and really like kind of, again, the bigger, broader story of the brand, including styling, right? Because they like see us on Instagram or whatever, and they're like get
it's
inspired to
true.
do that too, and they're like, oh, this is how they style this, there is a reference point.
Yeah.
And they are kind of, again, like really interested in the bigger kind of brand. So I think it's very lucky to do that. And I think as we grow the wholesale, it maybe become trickier, right? You never know.
Sure.
Because that's just the world. But so far, so good,
Well, let's jump on the Sperry stuff. So how did that happen?
It's been so, I'm so that another one. I'm just so grateful for that happening. It's like I didn't really. I know, like, obviously, Sperry's legendary, like, cult brand. I want to say. I don't know. It's like
Yeah.
a legacy. It's like huge. It's for me. Just the fact that we're working together is incredible. And I think my first interaction with Sperry was relatively late in life. For my personal self, like I know it's like huge American cultural like shoe that kind of, again, up and like very much up and down, right? Because you wear it on a boat, but you also can wear
Yeah.
it to your wedding, and you can also wear it to go to the bodega to buy egg and cheese, right?
Yeah.
Very
Yeah.
easily, or do your laundry without socks and just run out, come back, go to the beach, whatever. Like
Yeah.
they're perfectly aligned on that level of like up and down the whole thing. And I think it's as I was starting to kind of like develop the brand and work on these different partnerships and collaborations, I was brainstorming stuff, and then Sperry came up in this conversation. I was like, holy shit, that would be amazing. That would be incredible. And then I was lucky enough to have Brandon, who works with me, Brandon Rosenblatt works with me on our partnerships and collaborations, to kind of connect me with the Sperry team. And I think from the fucking get-go, it was such a eye to eye, like amazing kind of connection and conversation that felt
Yeah.
so good. And I think it proved to be, because it's like it's been really just amazing working with the team. The people there, they're all amazing people, and like giving me like really like the most comfort, freedom confidence to kind of do the things that we've been doing and are going to do. And we're, the first shoes that we released, the boat shoes, we've worked on them for a very long time.
Yeah, I mean, it was very, very, very different, but also a good collab in the sense that you still knew what it was. You knew it was a Sperry, but I never saw any shoe like that since. I mean, the type of leather, the leather sole on it.
Yeah, the leather sole was like, I wear them all the time.
They're great. Yeah.
Obviously, I wear them all the time. And it's like, that's for me, incredible thing to do. And it's like, yeah, it was really special to work on them. And like really kind of, it was immediate thought for me of like, okay, the concept is how do we make this boat shoe a lot more like just loosen it up, right? Because it has this like, it could be contextualized in a different way. And I was like, okay, how do we make it like, and also there's the point of like, you buy a new leather shoe sometimes and it's very stiff, right? So it's like, how do you just get it loose off the get-go across the board? And that's also from like a Colbo kind of energy and atmosphere of like, how do we just like loosen things up, even with a retail store, right? Loosen up the retail store. So loosen up the shoe. The clothes are loose, right? So it's like, make it just loose and easy, but still dress up and down. Again, it always comes back to that for me, because even with like the stuff we make and partnerships we do in the space itself is up and down. Because you can buy a coat for $2,000, but you can also drink a espresso for $4, or you can just sit there and it's going to be great and drink a glass of water. And I'll happily give you water with ice and you can be there. But you can also buy for thousands of dollars. So I think it was like very, very fun to kind of like, and I do that with fabrics too, right? There's like distress method and these like different washes. And I think doing that to a shoe wasn't like, in the beginning, I made them stonewash boat shoes for me. Because this was all inspired by these shoes that I bought like a vintage pair on eBay like 5 years ago, whatever. I was just like, I wanted like boat shoes and I wanted them to be worn in. I wanted them to look like that, like what we made. So that was kind of the main inspiration for it. And I think I was like, okay, how do we do it? In my mind, distressing something like a garment, I stonewash it. So I'm like, let's wash boat shoes. They're like, you are a psychopath. I'm like, thank you. I know. That's why this is going to be cool. And we tried different methods of like different kinds of leather and different kinds of distressing methods and different kind of like fabrications and different kind of like finishings and different laces. And obviously when the leather sole came up, that was just like a banger. Like I went through the archives and I was like, wait, this is like super flat, super easy. It makes it feel so loose and so small and so elegant, but still like so chill, which is like exactly the vibe we were looking for. And I think that's kind of like bringing that back is like a huge thing that just closed everything up perfectly. We did like, I have a bag here of like 40 different like samples we made of different colors, different distress methods, different finishes. Never a different sole. It was always leather sole, because once we locked that in, I was like, there's no other way I'm doing anything else ever for a boat shoe. It's perfect. And yeah, it was super, super amazing. And actually, you know what's crazy? The first time he brought me the samples, right? Steve from Sperry, my guy, brought me the samples for the first time to the store to see them. And I was so fucking excited. And we go sit outside the store. I'm like, let's go to the side. Like, I don't want to be in the store. I was like, I want to see it first. You know? And then we go, he shows it to me and I'm like, oh my God, this is perfect. I sent photos to Brandon. I'm like freaking out. I'm like, this is it. I think we're done. Then obviously we made like 40 after that. Sure. But like just the kind of different colors and different distressing and whatever. And then we walk back to the store with the samples and Jacques Mousse is standing there.
Oh, wow.
Which was what, and he's like a boat shoe guy, right? Jacques Mousse is like apparently a known boat shoe guy. So he is the first person to ever see my samples. And I was like, I actually told it because there was like two different, I remember there was like the cashmere leather and then this like more drier leather. That's their names kind of. I don't remember the name of the dry leather, obviously not drier. And then I remember asking him like, what do you think? And he pointed at one and it's just like, it's a cool little story, but it's not, it's more about like the first time seeing the shoes there was like incredible. And they were like really, really flattened out and really distressed and the leather sole.
They're very packable too,
very packable,
which is nice. Yeah.
And that's part of the campaign was like tying them together and putting them in like a side of a bag or like putting them in my fucking pocket, you know?
Yeah.
Because we also have these like big pocket denim pants that fit the shoes perfectly. It's kind of like a cool concept that we did a few times. But yeah, it's been, and I think, you know, this kind of like unstructured distress kind of feel of it, and it's where we're going with like the more stuff we're doing down the line. And I think it's been amazing. What can I say?
How do you know when like a product, shoe or not, is ready?
Wow, hard
Yeah.
question too, actually. Because and that also goes back to my background in painting or in even making music. When is a painting finished? When do you stop painting a painting? It's a very fine line. And there's the same with shoes and the same as with clothes. I think with painting, it's even a finer line for me because I remember making these paintings and then I did like crazy weird fucking layers of shit. And then at some point you're like, wait, this is cool, but is it not enough? And then you put something and you fuck it all up, You ruined it by this one layer. So I think that's because that for me was like very triggering moments of like, fuck, do I touch it more or is it good? Or is it good? And I think that also taught me going into the clothes of like when something feels good and you don't have to continue complicating it. I think for me, because of my process, similar with painting and the clothes and everything, that the business also is very intuitive and very like kind of run by a feeling, but in the clothes that feeling kind of starts with a fabric. So I think there's, it's not like we make these like crazy complex applique embroidery stuff, right? So I'm like, I love this fabric, and then I will try it on different silhouettes or on new designs that we're making. And when it works, it works, There's not much to continue there. There's like, again, different methods of washing, the stress that we do to stuff. And I usually kind of like, I give it kind of like the first go. And then it's with the clothes, I find it a lot kind of like easier to know when it's ready. It doesn't mean it's the best version of it. There could be a better version. So I will try it in a different fabric. And then what happens is I make 90 pieces, right? Like, oh, this shirt can be cool in this fabric. Oh, this pants can be cool, also cool in this fabric. Oh, maybe this shirt needs another fabric. Oh, but this jacket could be cool in this color and also in this color. And then it turns out to 90 pieces. With the shoes, it was really a first of its kind because it's like once we kind of locked in this concept, it was very clear what it needed to be. And it's like, and we started at like one color, then two colors, then we ended up with three colors, right? And then one of the colors was a more like limited, and the other two were kind of the bigger ones.
That's
and
smart.
they ended up in two different leathers. One is like the cashmere leather, and one is like the more dry leather, to kind of give it different variations. Like one is the weathered Sahara, which was a lot more like soft, and then the taupe, which was distressed taupe, which was a lot more kind of like dry, I get, for lack of a better understanding of a word, more rugged a little bit. But
very supple. I don't know. Maybe dapper or something.
No, but that's not relevant. Not relevant.
But no, it's great.
It's really hard. It's really hard. Knowing when to stop is really hard, but there's also a deadline, right? So at some point they're like, so you have to choose now. We can't keep making more samples. And that's good. It's good sometimes. I think limitation is key for everything. Limitation is key for creative, I think, at least for me. And it's like, and it kind of also like, when do you stop? When do you know something is good? It's like, you're like, okay, I can't keep going. Gotta have, or for me, I use it like the color, right? Is my limitation, quote unquote. I can make everything black if I want, right? I can make everything red. But I kind of feel like this kind of like, because I'm so like, I kind of like hard for me to decide and stuff. So kind of focusing on these kind of like this color scheme or this color story, because it's not like only beige, right? It's beige and it's white and it's brown and it's blue and it's some green and it's but it's like, it keeps me enclosed in something. And same for what we do with the Eldar for buying in the store. It's like we kind of, we kind of are doing a little bit more across the brand and across the store in terms of like color variations. With the other brands we work with, because we're just like excited to kind of work with them and try new things, and kind of it inspires me also to do stuff for us. But I think that's just about limitation being really important part of these kind of like creative decisions.
Yeah, I mean, I think you kind of answered my question, because that was one of the other things I was going to ask is like, what is your experience in painting and fine arts? What sort of advantage do you think it gives you in terms of designing clothes? But sounds like you just answered it with a refined color palette.
Yeah, I think a refined color palette. I think like kind of an expression, kind of like finding like boundaries and limitations. I think, I also, that's kind of back to the beginning for the runway, like painting on the shoes, right? And that's how I started making clothes. That's what I did. I painted clothes. I was painting clothes. I was like, this is genius. I am a genius. I am going to just paint clothes with like my abstract bullshit in my apartment. Yeah, like drink my fucking wine, smoke cigarettes inside, and paint clothes. I'm like, I am Basquiat, you know? Like, and I think it gave me a lot. It gave me a lot doing that. Even though it sounds crazy. And I think I don't know what's the direct implication. I think there's a lot of like consciousness, knowledge,
for sure,
and experience and color schemes and limitations and ideas that come through that. And that's why I'm very attracted also to these like crazy washes that we do to the fabrics, which kind of makes this like tonal patchwork type of stuff that's like kind of similar to the way I was thinking about painting in the past. I say in the past because I don't fortunately really paint anymore. I do sometimes.
Oh, come on. You're still an artist.
I don't. It's not about being an artist. It's about like this like I used to like blast shit on a giant canvas like a psycho. It was amazing.
Sounds great.
With my hands, with using books. Like I was like fucking wild. It was fun.
Yeah.
It was really fun.
Okay, we're starting to wrap, but there's a few questions I want to ask you.
Of course.
They just announced globally that you can take any artist ever and do a show inside of Colbo. What artist would it be?
I'm going to speak for Tal going to school in SVA in 2014. And I think that would be Robert Rauschenberg.
Hey, okay.
I think why is that would be, I think his like, it was very inspiring to me, the work, because I was like very into like this like kind of abstract, but also sculptural, but also painting, but also collage. And that was really kind of the stuff I was trying to do. And like I also my master printer at SVA was working with Robert Rauschenberg. So we spoke about him and we used his work as like reference for my stuff. And it was like it was a mix of like, it was very mixed media, collage, painting, sculpture, installation kind of approach. And I think his color selection for the most time for me was really interesting and on point in the way I see it.
Nice.
And if I could curate a Robert Rauschenberg show, it would probably be different than what is like in most museums, I feel like. But I feel like I would, that's the one I would go for.
All right. And now you get to have an album release party from whatever band it is, living or dead. And what album?
Sade.
Whoa.
Sade.
Okay.
Sade.
So that's your vibe in there, huh?
I mean, you know,
what era Sade?
It's either Sade or like, I mean, Sade like Sweetest Taboo era.
Yeah, I mean that's a banger.
But I don't know actually. And like now that I think about it, actually, I take that back. That back.
Rewind.
It's Alice Coltrane. Alice Coltrane. Spirit. That was the soundtrack of the Runway show also last week, and it was very intentional to be that because it's it's for me. It takes me back to my kind of like spiritual kind of journeys and days, and she had this like super deep like Hare Krishna like energy and consciousness and like very like hippie like Alice Coltrane is like, I have this thing with Alice Coltrane. Every Alice Coltrane record I see in any record store ever, I buy it, no matter what. It's a rule of thumb for me. There's no chance I see an Alice Coltrane record and I don't buy it. Even if I have it, I'll buy it again.
You probably have a lot.
I have a lot of Alice Coltrane records, yes. And they're all, they're mostly pretty psychotic, like spiritual jazz, right? And they're incredible. But like, yeah, I think that's the one. Yeah.
Yeah. Damn. That's good.
Alice Coltrane is like another level of like being for me,
Hell yeah. All right. Well, Tal, I want to thank you so much for your time.
Dude, of course. Thank you. Really, really appreciate it. Really
thank you.
Talking to you.
Thanks, man. I'll see you.
Thank you.
You've been listening to Blammo. Our show is produced by Blammo Media. We're edited by Amar Lowell, and our theme music, as always, by the mysterious Breakmaster Cylinder. If you like what you heard, you know the drill. Share the pod with a friend. Leave a review on Apple Podcasts. Give us 5 stars or thumbs up on whatever other thing you're listening to us on, whether it's Dingledorp or Bing Bong, whatever it's called. But you can also follow us on Instagram for all the hot content. If you want to talk to us and give us your hot take, we'd love to hear from you. You can send us an email at info@blamopod.com. Last but not least, super ultra important, if I had a air horn, I would press it right now. You got to come and join us over on Patreon, because the fun never stops over there. Look, the live show, the free show, whatever you want to call this, we take breaks here and there, but Patreon, it never stops. And we also got exclusive shows like Die Workwear, hosted by Derek Guy and Peter Zotolo, and the Triple J Show, hosted by yours truly with John Moy and Gene DeLeon. There's just a ton of stuff over there. So check it out at patreon.com/Blamo. If not, no worries. We got hundreds and hundreds of free episodes in the feed and more to come. So we will see you all soon.